Welcome back, I am Alex the Car Guy, and on this channel I feature my Toyota Corolla hatchback and cool parts that I find for it, as well as maintenance videos. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe by hitting the button down below to see more videos like this. And on this video, I'm gonna be doing some work to the chassis of the car. I'm gonna make it a lot stronger, which should make it a lot more predictable when driving out on the road, but also more fun when I go to the track. Now, how am I gonna do that? Well, TP Performance Products actually sent me a full set of their kit for the Toyota Corolla hatchback. Now, because there's several parts in here, we're gonna spread this out over 3 episodes. On the very first episode, I'm gonna show you the installation of the strut tower brace located in the front of the car. Then on the next episode, I'm gonna be installing the trunk brace, which is located in the trunk of the car. And then finally, on the last episode, I'll be installing a torsion bar or traction bar. And that traction bar is located on the bottom of the car towards the rear. After the installation of the parts, I'll take the car out on the road and we'll see how it performs, and I'll let you guys know if I feel any difference whatsoever. Now, let me tell you a little bit about TP Performance Products. The company engineers all the products here in the US and hand makes each one. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of love and care that you can tell in the workmanship of the parts. So with that being said, let's get this show started.
All right, we're moving on to the installation of the TP Performance strut bar. And what I've done, I have removed a couple of plastic clips that rest here, 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 and here. And those plastic clips kind of hold this cowl in place, so then I can lift it up. And the reason why I want to lift this up is because the strut bar is gonna be mounted in here. And there are several bolts that we have to remove. This right here is one nut that has to be removed. This one right here is 14 millimeters. There's another identical nut back here, also 14 millimeters. Then there's these little bolts. This little bolt right here is 10 millimeters. There's another bolt right there, so that's 10 millimeters. So a total of 2 10 millimeter bolts and 2 14 millimeter nuts have to be removed. And that is on both sides. As you can see on here, here's the other side. Same thing. Now it's a little bit of a tight fit, and you could probably remove this, but I find it easier just to lift this right here and reach inside of there. Now at this point, this whole thing can be lifted up. And then when I lift this up, I'm gonna be able to slide the plate underneath and then reinstall the bolts. And here's what the plate looks like installed. Notice that this bolt right here is towards the inside, so it's towards the engine. And again, all I did, I lifted this cowl until I was able to slide this underneath. And then once it falls into a spot, then it's gonna be just a matter of reinstalling the hardware. And to recap, this is gonna be a 14 millimeter nut, another 14 millimeter nut. Then in the back, there's gonna be a 10 millimeter screw, and that 10 millimeter screw looks like this. This is the stock 10 millimeter screw. However, for the front, right here, that 10 millimeter screw that came out of there is gonna be too short. So TP Performance included new hardware, which is a longer screw and this little washer. And that's gonna be installed right here, like so. All the hardware has been fully torqued, so I have torqued those guys and I have torqued these guys right here. All of these guys were very easily accessible with normal sockets and tools. However, I did use these ratcheting wrenches, which is a 10 millimeter ratcheting wrench. For one little guy that's back here, the 10 millimeter bolt, it's a little bit hard to get a normal socket in there. So I'll put a link in the description if you guys want to get any of these wrenches. They're really a lifesaver when you're dealing in a tight spot. The ratcheting mechanism will save you a lot of trouble. Okay, so now that both sides are fully bolted down, I can reinstall the bar and start to adjust it. And actually, before I reinstall the bar, I just want to remind you guys that I'm going to reinstall the plastic plugs that I took out of here, because those keep this from flapping around. So I'm going to reinstall all those plugs. Moving on to the bar, I have installed the hardware, which are the joints on each end of the strut bar. I basically just turn the hardware into the bar, and notice that the orientation of the hardware, there's a split washer followed by a nut, and that is on both sides. Once that is installed, then the bar can be put over the studs right here. And then again, notice the orientation of the hardware. There's a nut on the bottom, there's the joint itself, and then I'm gonna have a split washer followed by this nut right here. Okay, now once I have all that hardware locked down, I'm gonna adjust the bar. So I have locked down the hardware, and you may be asking, how much torque did I put on here? Well, I went with the good old German spec, good and tight. And you can see that the lock washers are fully collapsed, and you really come to a stop in here when you torque them. So that should be more than enough, in my opinion, to get this bar secure. Now, I mentioned that we have to adjust the bar. And you can see that if I turn the bar this way, or I can turn it this way, it's gonna do quite a bit of adjustment. If I go this way, the bar contracts. If I go this way, the bar expands. So I'm gonna expand it just a little bit so it's snug, and then once it's expanded, then I'm gonna lock down the hardware on both ends. I have tightened the nut right here again until that little split washer has collapsed, and I've done the same thing over here. So now this bar is fully secure. Now let's see how this whole thing actually looks installed.
I really like the design of the TV Performance brace, its low profile and the simple installation. Now the plates and the tube itself have a nice industrial design to them. The whole kit feels very solid, it's literally built like a tank. The welds are very clean and smooth, and you gotta remember, this assembly is welded by hand, which is really neat, right here in the good old USA. The plates are CNC plasma cut, and they're powder coated in a nice flat black finish. The main tube is a gloss black, also powder coated. The brace tube itself is 1.5 inches in diameter, which is great for strength, but it also keeps the brace extremely light. I took the kit to my scale, and the entire strut bar assembly, including the base plates, weighed less than 6 pounds. Now that is pretty amazing.